What episode is this?
27.
You sure about that? Episode 27. I'm Christopher, this is Zach. We are Dream EV and we are building an electric powered Vanagon. On this episode, continuing the theme of the last one, which may or may not have been episode 26, we're continuing on with the high voltage wiring. Do you want to tell them what we're doing?
Still warming up. Well, I am going to be finishing routing the big fat cables from the battery box area to the contactor box, and then we will have to start working on putting the contactor box together, and then also out of the contactor box to the motor.
All those things and more.
All those things and more.
Come on, let's see some things. I'll
It's
show you where we're starting.
Commercial for a jewelry store or something.
All those things and more. Alright. We got a contactor box with a bunch of blue tape ready and marked up to go. And we know from experience that these glands poke out a little further than you want and the wire doesn't bend quite as much as you want. We're going to mark out a no-go zone and make sure that all our glands fall outside of that area. That's what this is. My handy little tool. I'm happy with that.
Well, I rigged this guy up to measure the height of that tube.
Okay. As long as everything falls relatively higher than that, we should be good.
Alright, these are some things that are going to go in the contactor box itself. And if you'll notice, we have these lugs at different elevations. So we're going to go ahead and mark those on a tool and use that tool to make some further decisions on where they actually poke out the side of the box.
Luckily for us, I have an adjustable floor that'll come in and out, and we can set the height of the floor at whatever level we want. So basically, I got to figure out what level these guys are going to look good at, because at the end it's going to be like a pattern. I think we'll go with here for now. Work with that elevation. Tell you, this mat though is like, does the treat for helping line things up, make sure everything's square, making sure that the wires are coming out at the right angle and pointing in the right direction.
Here's a little temporary mock-up. It's just on there loose a little bit. Christopher can move it around to the point that best suits our needs for coming into that contactor box. Field flashlight anywhere available? Feels like it's got just a little bit more to go, but it goes, yeah, just goes in. Okay, it's in. This guy. Oh. Yeah, I would say it's definitely going to need some shielding. Get in a situation where you've got to like straddle a gator. You're really risking tearing these to pieces. You know what gator? You know what I'm talking about when I say a gator?
Yeah, alligator, side of the road. Piece of tire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody knows them road talk.
It's not everybody.
This step drill only goes up to just under an inch. Hey, whoa!
Well, that's the thing. Sorry, buddy. I'm not trying to break things, I promise.
This step drill only goes up to 7/8 of an inch, not quite large enough. So we got the next size up, which is a stubby little tree.
And then that one will take us to the full size for our gland. We learned a lesson from when we went through the aluminum. That wasn't so much fun. Bink, bonk, boom, bink. Tell you one thing about this bit and this material. They do not like each other. Like, it gummed up my bit. It's probably because I was going slow, honestly, taking my time, trying not to overshoot it.
So with that stuff it's hard because probably the best way is for the bit to be moving very fast and have a good steady, slow feed.
Yeah.
But
it was grabbing.
But it's hard to get that to hold it back. Whereas if everything was like super rigid and you could just feed it super slow at high speed, it would, I feel like it would cut. But doing it handheld, that's impossible to do right.
We got our we got our engineered Sharpies in place. These are a set diameter, you know, designed specifically for this task of marking up where the cables go. And that goes into the contactor box, so you can kind of see how everything's starting to fall together in there. Hey, look at this. That's a thing. Huh?
You may remember this little piece of work that I made a couple episodes ago to build these little tabs. So you just take a piece and lay it in there and smush it, and it creates this little profile. I'm going to modify this somewhat to be able to feed a long piece through, feed in, squish, and build a long extrusion with this profile. What I've done is scribe some guiding marks for my layout. So these two pieces I know I want exactly 40 millimeters apart, and then the piece I'm going to feed through is going to be 60 millimeters, so I scribe 60 millimeters down here, and then I've got to come up with a way to make sure that this is always right where I need to be, and I've got an idea for that. We're well on our way. I've got my guides tacked on, my first little dies tacked on, and then if you'll notice, I've got this long tail sticking out over here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bend this over, and it'll once bent over kind of have its own little spring action, and then I'll put this die right where it needs to be and tack it on, and that way it'll always be right where I need it to be. Okay, here it is.
You gotta give it a name, Zach. The squishinator.
Alright. Well, here we go. We are going to give this whole thing a shot. We've got is fully smushed. So we're going to come up and then we'll move her down. We started squishing our piece into a shape like that and feeding it through and squishing, and then we realized the edges are getting ripply. The transition from when you have squished it to flat, of course, has a bend. It transitions from this raised piece down to this flat piece. So this transition here goes in and bends up, and you get this ripple. So thinking about if I feed it in and just gradually squish it down a little bit, and then go back and feed it through and squish it down a little bit more, and then go back and feed it through, maybe do like 3 passes before I squish all the way down. Maybe that way this transition isn't so severe and I don't get this. Lesson learned. Take it slow. If we bend this in about 3 passes, it looks like that eliminates our problem. But it's late. I'll finish this up in the second half of this episode.
Today is day 2, part 2, A2. I've been poking around in a contactor box, making a lot of important connections that I'm hopefully gonna show you guys today, so that'll be exciting.
Yep. And in the world of continuing to learn how to fabricate with aluminum, we did this, and I'm going to abort, save time, to start over doing it correctly. So I'm going to cut a new piece and redo that to support those wires. Okay, let's try this again.
Alright, crimp school. We have these fancy connectors that go straight up to the motor. And this end needs a terminal. So I'm going to show you some quick steps necessary to get those on. These are shielded, so that one's going to be extra fun. Get this guy. That's what we're doing. Now, this is wire shielding. It could be there for electromagnetic interferences within twisted cables, twisted pairs. This is probably here for protection in case, like, you know, something pops up here and abrades the surface. It'll send whatever electrical signal to ground. This is probably grounded, is my guess, this shielding. So we're not gonna connect it to the lug, and it's not gonna be touching when it's all said and done. It'll look like that. It's not too bad. That's a buy it tool. This is very much worth it. Made that really nice and easy. Alright, so here's the high points of crimping school right here. If your dies are the wrong size or you have a mismatch with wire and lug, you're going to get undesirable crimping characteristics. These bunny ears are not what we want to be seeing. We want to see this right here, where the wire is just a nice hexagon shape.
As you can see, we grooved the bends. I think if I really took my time and moved real slow, we could bend it without these grooves. But this is just going to be a little insurance factor to make sure it bends really well right where we want it to. So I'm going to feed it through here. I'm still not going to go in one pass. I'm still going to take more than one pass, and we're going to bend this thing up.
This is our contactor box all wired up. Well, more wired up. I've added some things since you've last saw it. Over here is a pre-charge resistor, a pre-charge relay. I've also added these wires that go directly to the battery charger. It had an Anderson plug attached to it. I removed that in favor of hard wiring.
Well, I made a lot of good progress on this. You can see here I've already got this side finished. It's got a little curve on it that will fit right on the motor mount. And then I've got this side notched to fit the pipe, but I haven't bent it over yet. So that's what I'm about to do now. Let's see how it goes. Good start.
All right, we're gonna try something fun with these hose clamps. Maybe it will turn out cool.
That is the fanciest hose clamp I've ever seen.
I can't imagine this episode is incredibly long.
Yeah, probably not. Especially since the first half of the episode I tried something and it didn't work, and then I redid it in the second half, so.
Most of my stuff was just, you know, crimping off camera. There's only so many times you can film and show crimping.
Yeah.
I'm really squeezing it, you know, for all the life and the content it has got. But next episode, something more fun. We'll probably do the J1772 charge receptacle.
Ooh.
That'll be exciting. Live long and prosper.
Is that
It's part of the thing.
the thumb?
The thumb's part of it.
I thought it. So it moves halfway through?
I think it does. I think it does.
I feel like I need to know that now.
If there are any Trekkies in the audience, please correct me down below.
Alright, well, I guess that's it. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Till then, be good, people.
Much better.
Do the Alex French guy cooking thing.
Salute!
So we've got to come off the hot and go to supply our 3 breakers or fuses. And Christopher was going to get a piece of copper, cut it into shape, bend it up, and have 3 tabs feeding that. But we don't have copper bar, so I said, well, we could get a big fat piece of wire and strip it down into thirds and heat shrink it and pretty much do it that way. So we're giving it a shot, and here's the result so far. There's one. There's another. There's another.
That was way easier than I thought it'd be. Alright, let's see if we can wrap them in heat shrink. The thing we made turned out acceptable. That's exciting.